How much weight do you place, the question from Anna Gray, how much question do you place on a deal's ability to successfully exit the property in the specified timeline when deciding to move forward with a purchase or
that's probably the best question I think of, that I've heard tonight, and I'll tell you why. That is an extremely important component of our decision to buy a property is the exit. So I'll just give you some student housing and non-student housing sort of dynamics. You know, the shift right now in student housing is larger tier 1 schools, great sports programs. So if you buy in a smaller school, doesn't mean you won't cash flow, but you're taking a risk at the exit. And the risk is two. Number one, you're not sure what the exit cap is going to be. So it's hard to underwrite. Is it a 6.5 cap? Is it a 7? You know, what is it? And the other thing is just general liquidity. So can I sell that property in 4 or 5 years when I'm ready? And if you can't, then you better have the right debt. I don't like that dynamic. I want predictability and to be fully transparent. We as sponsors don't get paid really until we sell. So if I have an asset that's illiquid, that doesn't bode well for the sponsor. It doesn't bode well for the operator because you're sort of indefinitely holding on and not getting paid because you have too small of a market. It's illiquid. So it's very important. It's very important for us to underwrite to the right exit cap. So I'll buy in a secondary, tertiary market, depending if it's student or conventional. But I better know that the right cap rate, you have a different cap rate in the same market for C class, B class, A class. You're going to have a different cap rate if you're in student housing for a school that's 10,000 versus 40,000 enrollment. There's so many of those dynamics, and that's one of the most important pieces. How are you going to exit and at what price?
And how do you figure that out? Because I've seen a lot of underwriting models where they basically just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna underwrite it as a 25 basis point increase every year." So if it's a 3 or 4, if it's a 4-year deal, that's 2 basis points that they're going to add to. I've always thought it's just not a random guess, but it's really, how do you predict the future? Like if you're going to exit in 5 years, I mean, really, like how are you going to really confidently know? There's just no way to know, right? Or what's your process of trying to analyze what the exit cap's going to be in 4 to 5 years? I don't even know where I'm going to be living in 4 to 5 years, let alone what the exit cap's going to be around here.
It's one of the hardest things. It really is one of the hardest things. It's an art and a science. And I think, when you at least look at the basics, right? And say to yourself, if today this market is a 5 cap market, maybe it's a 5.5 cap market, right? It doesn't really matter what you're buying it at. Too many people say, gee, I'm buying at a 6 and I've got to expand 10 basis points per year. So I'm going to exit at a 6.5. That is the generic, underwriting tool that most people use.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what you're buying at because you might be buying something that's unstabilized, right? Then you're going to buy it at a 4 cap, stabilize it at a 6. But it's still historically been a 5.5 cap market. Now that interest rates have gone up, so you have to adjust for it. You have to be a little bit of a fortune teller and say, what confidence do I have that, in 5 years from now, interest rates are going to be 3%? I'll tell you, I have no confidence. But could interest rates be, 5? Probably. So should I underwrite to a 5.5 cap? It's likely defensible. And then, so if you have a baseline, and then you're going to adjust. Is it a primary market? Can I have a lower cap rate? Is it a secondary, tertiary market? Do I need a higher cap rate? Is it a 30-unit deal or is it a 300-unit deal? Varying degrees of cap rates and potential buyers. So you really have to think about who is your buyer? Who's your end buyer? Is it a private equity group like us? Is it institutional? Is it a high net worth family, a mom and pop? What is it? All those things will sort of inform you on the overall investment thesis. But there's data out there. So you go back to CoStar, you go back to different platforms that will say, okay, this market is a 5 cap market. It's expected to grow, rent growth 3% a year. There's data points that you can use to help, inform you of what a defensible cap rate is.
So if you enjoyed this clip and you want to see the entire episode, click here. And if you want to see other videos similar to this, click here.